You know what the best part about this is?
What's the best part?
Gave me a chance to get out of my sweatpants.
Come on.
That's really what it is.
That is like quarantine win.
And
out of the sweatpants.
Actually, I ordered 2 new pairs of joggers, and joggers is just a fancy way of saying I'm not wearing sweatpants, but I'm wearing sweatpants.
I saw somebody put a meme. They said, make sure every few days to try on your jeans because sweatpants make you think that everything is okay in the kingdom, and then when the quarantine ends and you try to put jeans on again, we're all toast.
Down. It's all downhill.
We're all eating DoorDash for all of our meals.
Well, we're not all eating DoorDash, Nate.
That's why, so let's be honest, that's why I'm on this show, because I need you to help me.
Get you a crock pot.
Becca, I need you to help me
meals over there.
Not fail.
I think Janae would be kicking you under the table, because I'm pretty sure Janae is cooking for you over there.
Sure.
Yeah. Or DoorDash. That's fine, yeah, no. So thank you for making me put on some real pants today and get out here and talk to all the families about family life.
Family life. Yeah. Welcome to Family Talk.
Crisis Family Life.
This is the first ever Family Talk that we've ever done.
I'm really excited to be a part of it and honored
really
and
pumped.
Flattered, again, to be considered.
I'm super excited. If you don't know Becca you grew up in this church. You've literally been here.
I did. I was a church mouse, literally, roaming the halls at night.
Your entire life. Her dad ran our radio stations, continues to run our radio stations for years, Chip Lusko. But you, in your own right, have, done some really, really incredible things. I mean, you have, risen in the ranks at Mac Makeup. You, own makeup companies. You tell us who you are and what you do for the audience.
I'm Becca Toups, spelled like soups, but with a T. So for those of you that were confounded by that, I am a Lusko by birth, and so lots of people will know that name. Definitely grew up here within the church, and I've done lots of things. I've been working in the cosmetic industry for, more years than I care to admit right now, but it's more than 15 is all I'm going to say.
Which is why you look the way you do right now on this show, and I look the way that I do.
Well,
I literally took a bath 30 minutes ago, and I have wet hair, and you look like you're ready to go do a photo shoot. So
I love that you just admitted on live TV that you took a bath today in the middle of the afternoon.
I take lots of baths. Hey, in the quarantine, men can take baths. I think that should be a new rule. In quarantine life, men are allowed to have baths.
That's right. Treat yourself.
Come on.
Absolutely. So, I above and beyond that, I'm a mom. Certainly, I feel like definitely my highest calling, and the microphone God's given to me to speak the loudest into raising and growing little people into big people. Awesome. And so I have 4 kids. We're a beautiful blended family. So God's brought us together and taken brokenness and made it into something really cool. We've got an almost 14-year-old, a 12-year-old, a 10-year-old, and then the feisty one, a 4-year-old.
You just described a recurring nightmare that I have of having that many kids across those ages. How do you do that? How do you balance life between kids wanting to date and talk about trigonometry, and then little kids wanting to braid your hair and paint you with watercolors?
Well, first of all, as you start having more children, the big ones start taking care of the little ones a little bit. So that alleviates a little bit, and that's delegating and going back to my managerial days. I call myself a momager. As I'm a momager, I manage my children in my home. But they do. Delegating and allowing them to grow and to learn and to kind of take over in some aspects gives them that power too. But it's just something different every day. I mean, I have a 3-nager and a teenager, is what I used to say.
But Piper is the cutest human being in the entire world.
And I'll tell you, you were not the only person that has told me, I basically watch your stories just to see what Piper's going to do.
Oh my goodness. I like my kids. I love my kids. That sounded terrible. I don't just like my kids, people. I love my kids. Let's be honest,
some days you like them, some days you love them, but you love them no matter what.
But I always said when we first had Katie, I was like, man, she's the cutest kid in the world. But I'm fully willing to give that crown to Piper. Whoa. Piper is, Katie will say it as well. Everyone will say it. She is the cutest, stinking kid in the world.
She's a nut. She does think Katie walks on water. So sometimes when she's misbehaving or throwing a fit, I'll be like, Piper, do you think Katie throws these kinds of tantrums? Or Katie is mean to her brother? And she looks kind of gets caught and thinks about it. She's like, no, but I'm not as good as Katie. She's fully admitting that she's just a little bit of a sinner and she's trying. So,
oh my gosh.
What would Katie do in our house? Certainly.
Well, I'm excited about this show in particular. When we were brainstorming all these shows with the team, this was one that we were all really excited about because I honestly think you're not just a momager, like you're like a super momager. Like the things that you post on your Instagram, the things that you do, even going to your house and seeing the verses that you have written in chalk and like the different responsibilities and chores, like it's incredible. And so I'm excited because at this point we're all at home quarantined with our kids. I feel like we've all been put into prisons with our kids, is what it feels like to a certain extent.
Sometimes it does feel like that.
And I feel like they're the wardens and we're the inmates.
On some days,
to
also,
a certain extent.
For sure, that's true. And thank you. That's definitely high praise, and I try to live up to that. But I am not a super mom. Last Friday, when the announcement came out that the schools were closing down further, and to put it in perspective, this is still a first world problem that we're having here. That we have to be at home with our kids and our, on our couches watching Netflix and cooking dinner with all of our toilet paper, making pyramids out of forts.
And our ammo.
But calling me a super mom, I broke down on Friday. Like I'm a mom. I'm a lot of things. I can style your home. I'll help you with your skincare. But an educator, I am not. And like my first panicky feeling was like, it's going to be entirely up to me, and I'm going to ruin my children's future if I don't teach them, like if they can't read and they don't know how to, change improper fractions over, and how am I going to do this? And I kind of had to, one, kind of take a minute, take a deep breath, pray. Two, I reached out to my tribe for sure. All my girls and my friends got texts like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? I'm freaking out. I'm literally locked in my bathroom, kind of hyperventilating, like having to breathe through this. I reached out to teacher friends of mine people who are doing this, that are educating kids, that have those resources, and started getting like websites and like, hey, you can do this. It's okay. I'll help you.
All the homeschool parents are laughing their heads off right now.
Well,
because we've all been like, homeschooling, how could you do that? Oh, and they're all like,
we've been doing this.
What's up now?
Well, I'll say two things. I saw a great meme. That before this, how we viewed homeschool moms was like Little House on the Prairie with their bonnets churning their butter, and now the whole world is looking at homeschool moms like, you're superheroes. Wow, how are you doing this?
I'm looking at them like they're Ridley from Alien. Like they've marched into the bold black unknown, and they're like slaying mythical monsters.
It definitely takes someone with a really special calling, and I really admire it. And my hat goes off to all those moms that or dads or grandparents, whoever has been homeschooling up until now. But one of my friends who is kind of a super homeschool mom, has 4 kids homeschooled and has chosen that lifestyle, has posted something that was really encouraging to me. Is this isn't homeschooling. This is not what homeschooling looks like right now. So sit back and take a deep breath and be encouraged, because homeschooling, that includes field trips and co-ops and lessons and all kinds of wonderful adventures. And for us moms that are at home and kind of thrown into this unprepared without those kinds of resources, this is I'm calling it COVID schooling, because that's what this is. We're having to adjust, we're having to adapt. This has never been done before out there, and just give yourself some grace.
It's good.
And on top of that, secondly, I want to kind of an addendum, give your kids some grace too.
Yes.
They're all in mourning right now. They're grieving, they don't know how to process, and they're watching us grieve, because we're kind of all freaking out over what's going on in the world, but trying to keep it cool. But they're also grieving. They're grieving the loss of their social life. They're grieving the loss of all of their sports and everything that they know to be normal.
Yeah. Do you see a difference in that with boys and girls, though? Because I swear my son still thinks that COVID-19 is the best thing that's ever happened since summer break got invented. And my daughter is like bummed on life. Like, she wants to be with her friends. She loves school. Seth's like, no school? Awesome.
Right. Yeah, and each kid and each personality is definitely going to grieve and go through that differently, whether they're a little boy or a little girl, but also, how their personality is. Like, my son actually begged me for years to homeschool him, and I'm all, guess what? Now you got your wish, not so happy
You're
now.
like, I'm going to make you beg for school, boy.
I'm the lunch lady. I'm the PE teacher. I'm the principal. But, it's really important that we find humor in this, that we hold on to that humor and the things that are funny, and like, again, reach out to our people and have that camaraderie. There's never been a time like this that we have this kind of connection.
It's Kanga for mom says, no, we're not laughing. She's a homeschool mom. We actually just feel compassion.
They feel it. All right.
And then she said, homeschoolers are feeling a little scattered and lost too.
Yeah, this is not their norm either, and it's also scary. So, and it's fun to make light of it too, but that's the reality for sure. Yeah.
I think a big part of it, and I think one of the things that I'm, again, so excited about this show, and even you being on this show, is even though you're not a homeschooler, you don't homeschool mom, you're a good planner. And I think like when you say you're a momager, I think one of the biggest things that I've seen in this whole entire process is if you go into each day without a plan, your days are going to be miserable. And you're going to pull your hair out. Your kids are going to hate you. You're going to hate your kids. You're not going to eat food. You're going to end up ordering fast food. Like, it's just going to go downhill. But I think a plan can help so much. One of the things that I love that you said before is that even schooling, this isn't like pre-college prep education.
Nope.
This is just kind of like get through until the government gives us a different plan, I guess, on schooling.
Yep.
It's like,
this is survival mode right now, you know, and we're all figuring this out. And the people who maybe are a little bit more gifted, maybe in the planning, take from them. I didn't invent the wheel, I promise. There's not many things. 90% of what I do are things that I find or things that I'm inspired by other people that they're doing, and I take it and make it my own, and kind of perfect it. And so don't put that pressure on yourself. Like, we have all these resources. I'm just thanking God every day that I'm not like quarantine in a time of cholera, you know, where it took 3 weeks to 6, weeks to get a letter back from somebody and that kind of communication. We have those resources and we have constant communication, and we can reach out to people and ask for help in areas that we aren't as strong in, you know?
Well, Leanne said, my big kids are cleaning the house while I sit and watch.
Nothing wrong with that.
If you can tell me how to get that to happen, I will take your class.
Home ec is definitely coming and making a comeback right now.
The Dafter family said, I never knew there was another amazing Lusko. Becca is awesome. Well, she's not a Lusko anymore.
Oh, I have Lusko blood, but thank you. Thank you very much. I like to hide in the shadows. I'm the secret Lusko. I just want to say, like, use those resources. Pinterest, some of my favorite resources. And if you guys want, you can go to my Instagram. I've saved a highlight on my, highlight there for COVID schooling. And I've got a lot of really great resources that I found because, again, I'm not an educator, but I've gotten and gathered a lot of things that are like, okay, I can do science here. I can do this here. We can go on a field trip, collect rocks and bring them home and identify them. And that's science. You know what I mean? It's practical and it's something fun. And
getting them outside. Because right now, every kid, especially the boys, just want to sit on like their iPads. And like, I can't tell you how many times in the day my son asked me to either watch TV or play video games. And I'm like, go outside. Like, go do something.
Certainly. And to what you said before about a schedule, I think a schedule is really important for me as a person. If I don't have a schedule for my day or a couple things that I'm going to accomplish, it's turning real quickly into like the couch, Netflix, and then before I know it, I'm not feeling good, and then I'm a little depressed, or I'm on Instagram for way too long and I'm getting stressed out reading too much news. So having a plan, but the flip side of that, for those people who really are planners, is having a plan that's loose. Like, give your kids grace in that too. My kids joked when I put up my schedule for them, they're like, well, when are we going to take our bathroom breaks? And I'm like, but giving them grace in that. And like, if you're doing something and it's doing really great, a craft or an activity, sure, let it go. It can go through, a different time, and you can bump that because guess what? Again, I'm the principal and we don't have any other rules, but you can allow those things to kind of, to grow in your house and find out what works best for you, but having kind of something regimented that affects the kids.
So what does your schedule look like then? Because even within that, like, I even know just personally for me, like, we didn't realize it until we started realizing it, that we were letting our kids stay up way later than normal. And then I just realized, actually last night, I was like, this is really unhealthy. Like, we need to almost put in the same principles and regimens that we would if school was happening to a certain extent that we would in this time. So what is your schedule for your family and kids look
100%.
like?
And kids need that structure. Otherwise, then they start to lose it. But, we have a pretty soft wake-up time. I like to have all the kids up by 9. I think that's pretty reasonable during this time. I'm not waking them up at 6:30, with a cowbell and making them come out. But we have breakfast together, and we have a little bit of kind of decompressed time. I let the kids have a little bit of technology time first thing in the morning. Once they're kind of awake, bright-eyed, everybody's up, and we've had breakfast, we do a devotion. And
we already talked about the bathroom breaks.
I know, bathroom breaks, sneaking them in there. We do a devotion, and that looks different every day too. One of the things too, having one of my older daughters read the Bible story to my younger daughter.
That's
so that's
awesome.
Checking 2 boxes off because she's working on her reading aloud for my 4th grader, but it's also taking something off my plate, allowing, that quiet time to happen for my 4-year-old too. Something we did also last week is I assigned somebody, my son, I gave him the the task of finding what we were going to read together as a family, and he presented it.
That's
so,
awesome.
Public speaking, check.
Come on.
And then, we're accomplishing that, so it's not always falling on me to take care of things. So like I said before, as you start to have more children, they start to take some things off your plate because you can assign and give them those opportunities, and it's a really big deal. But I'm going to say this right now, and this goes for everything, but especially for family devotions or whatever that looks like. You need to manage your expectations.
Yes.
As a parent, because sometimes you think it's going to be this beautiful Mary Poppins, the hills are alive, sound of music with your kids skipping and listening. And yes, mom, circled around you. And it's not. It's going to be ugly and it's going to be messy and they're going to roll their eyes and they're going to be annoyed and they want to do their own thing. But it's okay. You want to keep doing that.
Yeah,
that's really important. But manage your expectations and what that's going to look like. It's not going to be perfect every time. You know?
We brought up with our friends the other day with Matt and Tish. We were saying that all of a sudden, every parent now realizes how awesome teachers are. Because it's like, man, this is just with my 3 or 4 kids at home. Imagine if you had 10 other families' kids in your house right now.
Preach, Nate Heitzig, preach. You're preaching good here.
It's like what in the world? Teachers are a gift from God, is what I'm realizing. They're
Absolutely.
It's incredible.
I really think the world should reorganize, and we've said this before, certainly, but that teachers are certainly underpaid. But that being said, teachers are fantastic, but let's talk about what a day looks like in a real school for a child. 3 recesses. So again, managing your expectations with your homeschool, giving your kids the opportunity to get out and to have some time by themselves, to get some exercise, to play. Children, especially young children, learn through play the most. So it doesn't mean your kids lined up, old school time, where you walking around smacking a ruler, making sure that they're doing their work, but they can learn through play and different things.
Our kids go to a Montessori, and it very much is learned, not just by standard sit down here curriculum, but using different things to do math and kind of working at your own pace. Someone said, my daughter got mad and said, "This is my vacation," because they weren't being allowed to stay up late every night.
Nope.
Highlight of this quarantine. Don't make it the highlight of your quarantine. Put some regulation in there. Need prayers to be protected from the virus. I'm vulnerable due to asthma and COPD. We'll definitely
We've got some great questions here. Tips for a stay-at-home dad or tips for a working parent supporting a stay-at-home parent.
Gosh, that is so good.
These are really good. And this isn't my situation, but I can certainly understand.
This is my situation.
Yeah, you, for sure.
Not stay-at-home dad, but we're kind of an essential service. We're still doing church.
My
wife
is
all of a sudden put in this place where she's at home. How can we support those who are at home?
Absolutely. When they are home, supporting what's going on, maybe coming in okay, maybe I can take over and do some preschool papers or help out with some math homework for the working parent that is coming in. But for that parent too, knowing that above all, the connection is really important with your children. It doesn't have to be sit down and, teach a social studies thing. Maybe it's sit down and everybody plays a board game together with dad so mom can have a minute in the bathroom to just breathe and put a face mask on or whatever that looks like, or get some laundry done. So supporting that parent, asking, hey, how can I help today? Hey, how can I help today? Because the parent that's probably running things knows what's going on in the day, and just asking that, and they'll be like, oh, you know what? It'd be really great if you could just sit down and read a story. It'd be wonderful, or whatever that looks like. Now, the other question that was there that I think is really important was for the single parents or the single moms that are literally doing it all right now, whether that means they're working from home by themselves right now, trying to take conference calls and support the family by themselves while their kids are homeschooling. That's going to look completely different too, so give yourself some grace. Funny story, one of my friends who is in that situation right now was on a call with her coworkers today, and her daughter, who started her official homeschool, was in the dining room and yelled, "Can you keep it down? I'm trying to work in here," to her mother while she's on her conference call.
And then she's apologizing. "I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry, my kid.
My daughter."
That's life, that's what that's going to look like, and giving ourselves the space. But for those kids, I think for the kids that are at home being schooled while their parents trying to work from home, having that schedule is even a little bit more important, but also giving them the wiggle room and making sure hey, why don't you guys just go out in the backyard and play for a while? And you're going to get an eye roll, and you're going to get, that's boring. Okay, go outside and be bored. Here's some chalk.
Can we just talk about the current generation of why? When I was a kid, and I'm sure same with you, I got home from school, and the second I got home until it was dark, I was outside playing.
Yep.
It was you had to drag me inside. I didn't want to do anything else. I was like, no, I want to be outside playing. Why do kids today hate being outside and love being inside playing video games and watching TV?
Well, I'm not a child psychologist, but I do play one on TV. No, just kidding. Well, my perception is that the culture has changed. Like, I can't send my kids out. I don't feel comfortable sending my kids out for 6 hours just to play and run around the neighborhood, unfortunately. It's not the day and age we live in. And then also technology is playing a completely different role in their upbringing than it did for us. So, and then also sometimes it's just a learned thing because it's easy for us to just guess what happens when my kids are on technology?
Yeah.
They're not fighting.
See, and I was thinking the same. I was like, man, I think to a certain extent, for me, it's a call for us as parents to rise up and be parents because it really is passive parenting. It's easy to do. That's the thing.
It's so easy.
It's so easy to say, kids, watch TV, and then you can go in the other room and watch whatever you want, do whatever you want, and then you look at the watch and 4 hours has gone by, and you're like, what happened to my kids' brains in that 4 hours?
Exactly.
It's just easy to do, but it's like, don't let TV and media parent your kids. Like, I think, again, I think it goes back to that intentionality, which even the idea of having schedules, that all shows intentionality. And I think parenting and just family life in general requires intentionality. I think one thing that I'd love to hear you talk on throughout the time that we do this show even is how do you cultivate romance during COVID-19? Like, that's really hard. Like, you can't go on a date. So, like, what are ways that you can, cultivate romance? What about self-time? One thing that I love about your Instagram is you not only give great practical advice to parents for what to do with their kids, but you're doing workout videos and you're talking about how you can exercise in this time and do those, because there is this self-care element within this that, especially for those stay-at-home parents, if you're not thinking about yourself and self-care and you're just thinking about your kids, you're going to go insane and you're going to be more harm to them than you are good because you're just going to drain.
100%. And I kind of always say, you have to take care of yourself so that you can in turn turn around and nurture and raise up those kids. Because if you're not, and if you're cranky and feeling, stressed out and whatever, you're going to be mean and it's just going to spiral, and that you really are kind of the backbone of the household. I like to joke that my husband is the head, but I'm the spine, for sure, and hold those ribs together and everything. But so self-care certainly is really important. For me, with our daily goals, like I said, I have a schedule. It's a loose schedule, but my kind of check-off goals for the kids are to make sure I'm taking care of their hearts. So that devotional, that time, that emotional, giving them time to kind of be stressed and sad. Those days where we've gotten really big announcements in the news or things have changed, and I've been stressed, but I'm trying not to, turn around and pass that on. I can feel that in my 4-year-old. She throws more tantrums. She's more clingy. She's more needy because they can feel that. So being kind of attentive to their needs. And if you have a teenager or pre-teenager, that's going to look really different too. That's going to probably read in some anger or, lots of eye rolling or more tears or just more frustration because what they're grieving right now, is different, and they don't know how to process that either because we certainly don't. We're figuring this out every day. So
that's good. That's even a good reminder because I know, in this season when my kids are jerks to me, I'm just like, my patience goes, you don't think about that. They're having a really hard time with this too. My mind just goes immediately to why are you being so mean? Why are you not being nice?
Why don't you love me? I love you.
Yeah.
But that's how they process those emotions and those feelings. And in a preteen where there's starting to feel hormones and some ups and downs, and they really don't know how to emote that, it's gonna result in some yelling, probably some mean things said to you, and just giving them grace in that time as well is super important. So
care for their heart.
Heart for sure, mind. So that goes without saying, and that's going to look different. Sometimes it's read 30 minutes and get on Khan Academy and do some math. Sometimes it's going to be, something great. One of my teacher friends kind of told me is that you can teach math in practical ways too. I gave my son a tape measure the other day, and I was like, give me the area of that rug, instead of sitting him down and having him do a worksheet, and he had to get out and do it and figure it out.
That's awesome.
And guess what that is? That's practical too, because he can turn around and there's woodworking. I've got a project I'm going to start in the bathroom, and I'll have the kids help me measure out, the planks and things like that. But also, I can take my girls or boys. My son really isn't interested in baking much, but we can work on fractions. I can be like, all right, this is 2/8 cup of this. What is that? How does that translate into,
That's
flour?
awesome.
And have them work in that. And that's also practical, and letting them see the actual application of what these things they're learning in school can look like,
You talk about a dumbing down of a generation. I think a big part of that, Matt and I were talking about this, that 50 years ago, people made their own furniture. they made their own clothes. They were
cooking.
Butter. They were cooking food.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like now, like it sounds like we're talking about an Amish family right now, but like
Wow.
literally, like they literally made these things. And they knew how to do. They knew how to plant gardens and harvest gardens and have food that they didn't go buy at a grocery store. And like we've gotten so dependent more and more and more
100%.
in like this fast food culture that really relates to everything: media, education,
everything's
food.
so processed and already digested for them. They just don't know. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know how to do this, and that kind of ties into my something that your parents talked about last week on one of their lives. That kind of I think brought into this is I have an I'm bored bar, and it's not that I'm just trying to do all the things for my kids, but it's what happens is when they run out of things to do and they have free time, and I'm not letting them maybe get on TV or watch this, that they come to me like, I'm bored. What should I do? And I'm like, do this. I don't want to do that. Do that. I don't want to do that. So what I did when this whole thing came out, I was like, oh my gosh, we live in a small house. We have a pretty big family. I don't want more house than we can afford. We have a pretty small house, so it can get a little tiny, especially on the days when the weather isn't good. So I set up kind of a little table kind of off our dining room, and it's like, I went around our house, grabbed up every activity that we've had. The kids maybe haven't noticed or we haven't had time to get board games. I had run to Target. I got coloring books. I got puzzles, things like that. So
good.
when they're bored, if anybody says bored, they walk over to them.
Oh my gosh.
bar
Okay,
and
so
figure it
you
out.
guys have to go to Becca's Instagram. You posted a great thing about you have like that learning bar. What are you calling that bar where you have like all the stuff on there? You have like the puzzles and you posted something about that. What was that called?
Hey Nate, welcome to Family Time with Becca Toups. That is the I'm bored bar.
The I'm bored bar.
That's what I was just saying.
Yeah, but so you were saying you had the puzzles on there, but
Yeah.
you like put like educational activities and stuff there too.
Yeah,
like,
and it's
all
stuff,
kinds of stuff.
I got some new things, and I got some, footballs and a basketball hoop, but I also got, my kids have a rock tumbler that someone gave us for Christmas, so I got new grit for that so they can go out in the backyard and find rocks and shine them up. There's things for my toddlers, there's stationery so we
That's
can write
good.
letters, to people. We've been really focusing on the kindness aspect to tie
good.
onto the kindness campaign
good.
that we're doing here, but writing notes to the people who are still working.
good.
We did a thank you note for our mail lady and put a little thing with some water and a granola bar and whatever, and she wrote a note back and said thank you so much, and then brought something back the other day, which just showing people that we appreciate them and taking our focus off here and putting it out there.
I've been focusing on resourcefulness. So I've been prepping my kids. At the end of the week, we're having a Hunger Games. And so I've been teaching them how to make clothes and make
Yes.
tourniquets
Yes.
and how to use weapons.
Hey.
And then I've let them know at the end of the week, we're going to put this into action. There's a test. And I'm just getting, it's going to be great.
It's going to be wild.
They're
Hey,
learning so much.
I will send my kids into your Hunger Games as well.
Let's
That
see.
sounds good.
Stephen and Julia. Stephen, our old worship leaders, chiming in. So good. Julia's responding. There's a little bit of a husband and wife conversation here. Aren't you supposed to be teaching the kids, Stephen? Listen to what they're talking about. I am teaching them.
Uh-oh.
Aren't you supposed to be driving? That's awesome.
That's pretty funny. So then the thing I would go down to right after addressing their minds
So
is their
hard.
body, so exercise.
Yeah.
And I like to do that first thing in the morning so we kind of get everybody up and ready, because as soon as you just exercise a little bit, it's better for me. I'm in a better mood. You've heard the quote, exercise gives you endorphins.
Yes.
Endorphins make you happy. Happy people don't kill people.
That's good.
And when you have 6 people trapped in a small house for X number of days,
Exercise is
we
the
need happy
solution.
people in there. So exercise. So and that looks different every day. Today, my toddler did some trolls yoga.
Yeah.
On her level.
What does that mean, trolls yoga?
I just went on YouTube and just found kids yoga, and it was a lady dressed as a troll leading yoga, and she was enamored by it and following everything she was doing.
Oh my
And it's
goodness.
adorable. But for my big kids, I took them in the backyard and we did a boot camp, and we had different stations. A jump rope here. You
That's
can do
awesome.
squats here. I've got some little 8-pound, 5-pound weights,
Yeah.
And we brought Alexa out, 45 seconds here, and then everyone just rotated through
That's
2 times
awesome.
around. Everyone got a great
little
workout.
circuit training.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love it. My wife's a big runner, and the other day she went out and ran 5 miles, and my son Seth rode his bike with her for the whole 5
I
miles.
saw that. That's
And
so
he was
fantastic.
rooting her on. He's like, "Come on, Mom, you got this, Mom." And then they got back, and then my wife took my daughter out, who's not as comfortable on the
Right.
bike, and just ran alongside her to do a mile of bike riding.
It's so good. It's special. That's quality time. You're getting
Yeah.
one-on-one. They're getting exercise. We're getting sunshine. For the people here in Albuquerque, we mostly have sunshine. I actually talked to my brother. It's been snowing every single day up in Montana, nonstop, and they can't even go outside. So
Oh my gosh.
I am thankful for even though cloudy weather, the good weather.
Because
we can do
I'm
that.
sure in Montana the ski areas are all closed down and everything because of social distancing.
Yeah,
So
you're
you
not
can't be like, I'm going to go social distance
You can
on a snowboard.
Snowshoe.
That sounds
wanted
fun.
to. No, it doesn't. But just be thankful for what we have. how do you limit to screen time to 2 hours? Well, first of all...
Oh my gosh, someone chimed in on that before. I'll let you talk, and then I'll go back to what they said.
Thanks.
You can talk about what you're
I
and
can
then
speak now?
I'll go,
Thanks.
yeah. Sorry.
Limiting. So let's talk about screen time. Screen time doesn't have to be all bad, okay?
Yeah.
A lot of the resources I found in the areas that I'm not strong in, math, are on screen time. So screen time can be good.
And pretty much all the stuff our schools are giving us is on a computer. Go to this website, go to that website.
So what that looks like. So what I've actually done to limit extracurricular screen time, I would say, is I actually printed Mom Money the other day. I'm really excited about it, actually.
Tell me about this Mom Money.
Mom Money. It has
Jimmy
my
Fallon does Mom Prom.
Has my
You hear about that?
I might wait. I'll get there too.
Okay.
I definitely have tea time, tea party Tuesdays. But I printed out Mom Money. I put my name on my face on it, and the kids, by doing their homework, by helping out around the house, things like that, they're going to earn different currencies, different amounts of mom money, and then they can turn that around and use it to earn 10 minutes, $10, or so
for
on,
like screen time,
of actual
things like
screen
that.
time, Fortnite, and time on your cell phone, or time watching Netflix, or time whatever that is.
Yeah.
They can earn that, and they recognize the amount, because if they just turn it on, there's no concept of time.
Yeah.
Really. It's like its own. Mom, I've only been on for a couple minutes. You've been in here for 45 minutes
Right.
playing and yelling with your friends. That being said, Fortnite for my son, that is his social time.
Yeah. He actually talks to friends, and
they're on there hanging out with friends, they're having a good time, so it's not all bad,
Yeah.
but limiting it, but also recognizing that they need that social time.
It's good.
And that family time. And that's one of the things that I also try to always check off every day, is getting some family time in there, whether it's families, us doing a puzzle together, us playing a board game, or just, making some popcorn and watching a movie, something that kind of brings us together in a family through this. And
I
then
love
also,
family movie nights. It's been
oh my
so
gosh,
good.
so fun.
It's the best.
Really, there really is just such a wonderful, lovely silver lining through all this.
Yeah.
And it really is the return to that family and appreciating what we have, and being forced to really kind of evaluate and sit down and see what's important. So the family time like that is super important.
Even just larger family. Like, we've been going over to my parents and having dinner way more than we ever have. My mom's been like in a cooking frenzy. So every night she's cooking, inviting us over to have and we never get to go over to my parents and have like home cooked meals with them that often. So this is really
so special. And it's things that
brought
this is
that
still
up.
our children's childhood.
Yeah.
And these are things that they're going to remember. Even though it's a national emergency and we're all freaking out, there are some really great times to make some wonderful memories throughout this too. But also, on that social note, I've also allowing your teenagers, like maybe, lunchtime, to go sit out in the backyard and have lunch and schedule it with their friends and FaceTime with all their friends, and having that interaction with other people outside the house, because they really can't.
That's good.
Yeah.
Even I saw somebody say have them FaceTime with their grandparents.
Yes.
Because we talk about
every
the
day.
social distancing from the older generation, because they're the most vulnerable. So having your kids FaceTime with grandparents and encourage them and talk to them, and that's so good.
Yeah, we've definitely been getting back writing letters too, taking every day writing letters and drawing pictures and sending them to grandparents.
Do
'cause that's
kids know
such
how to write anymore?
You know what? Believe it or not, they do. They're a little. You gotta give them a little prompting, but yeah. But that's an art that's kind of lost, and we're able. And how special it is to open your mailbox and not just get a text, but get like a card with a picture and something.
Just tell
like
them
that.
not to touch it for 14 days, because coronavirus can live on surfaces for a certain amount of time.
Spray it with Lysol.
Someone said Flower Puzak, I think I said that right, says, I set the Family Link app on my daughter's tablets. They have a limited amount of time per day, and the tablets lock between certain hours. I've realized the more electronic time, the more moody they are, I'm thinking is what she's trying to say.
Certainly.
That's good. But I love your idea, because you can, even in those Family Link apps, you can add more time if you want to. And so I love that idea of Mom Money.
They can earn that.
And they can earn it. I might do Dad Dollars. You can do Mom Money, I'll do Dad Dollars.
Sure, I want to see it next week.
Maybe the Dad Dollars will go towards, like, if I threaten them with disciplines, they can buy disciplines away. That's a terrible decision.
Oh, well, I mean, sure. Yeah.
It's like, I'm like, hey, you disrespected your mom, you're going to go into timeout, but Dad, I have 25 Dad Dollars.
Oh, yeah,
okay,
you can turn
get
in
10 minutes off of
Absolutely. I mean,
timeout time.
if you think about school, I mean, our children, in some respect, are being bribed. My kids have, things they earn throughout the week so they can have Fun Friday with their teacher. That's that's the system that they have. And that's what I'm kind of incorporating here. Like, hey, maybe you do turn in some of your mom money and you don't have to do one of your assignments, and that gets you out of it. Or,
I mean, let's be honest, we're all taking their stimulus money anyways. They don't know they're getting stimulus money.
That's true.
I'm like, bro, I'm getting all your stimulus money. I'm never going to tell you about it.
Well,
so the least I can do is give you some dad dollars.
We are feeding them, but yes. But also maybe that means, my daughter wants a new slime kit or something online for me to order, and she turns that money in and I can order her something because, of her behavior, her great attitude, how she's helped around the house, et cetera, et cetera. So
we did heart, mind, body, and we didn't just give it the name, but we talked about social family.
Social and family, yeah. Just as long as I'm checking those boxes every day, I feel like
so good.
My kids are going to be in a good space on all levels. But if I'm just sitting them down in math, more,
right?
No, they're going to be cranky. They're not going to feel good. And they, like I said before, kids really learn through playing. So getting the recess, getting that time, giving them that constant, opportunity to get out and do other things.
So do you have the same schedule each day, or do you publish the schedule for the following day the night before and be like, all right, kids, look at the schedule. This is the schedule tomorrow. How does that work?
I'm sure somebody out there is that organized. It's not me.
Yes.
I have a schedule. I think we'll get to it more next week and the specifics, but I have kind of a loose schedule that says academic time here and academic time that's more sit at the table, work on your math, work on your, with your pencil. And then I have another academic time in the afternoon that can have electronics. It's your tablet time. And having my kid, maybe one kid is sitting at the computer working on Khan Academy while my daughter is reading to the little one, and then I can work with one more child. You know what I mean? And that's something that I've picked up from homeschool moms is kind of taking turns with them with different things and rotating through different activities. So
Julia says, can you just plan my day?
I will post a link and then you can follow that. But the kids, once they get over the it's this vacation, I don't want to do school, they like that because it does remind them of school.
Yes.
So whatever little bit of normalcy you can kind of plug back into life, like I said, making a lunchtime. Don't make your kids sit and work during lunch. They have lunch. That's when they get to go hang out with their friends. So make it fun. Maybe that's, like I said, the FaceTime time or whatever that looks like. Maybe having one of your kids make lunches the night before.
I think all of these are good ideas. And I think just one thing that I was challenged with, and even just reading everyone's responses, COVID-19 could be something that we look back at, and your kids, two things could happen. They could either have some of their best memories of their time with you that they've ever had in their entire life, or they could look back and say that was terrible because my parents were mean, they did this. They could look back one of two ways. You can use this as an opportunity. We talk, a lot of pastors, the big thing is turn the pain into a promise, and every pastor talks about that.
Perspective is your passport.
Oh my goodness,
Stephen
all
Furtick.
of it. But it's it really is. In this time of pain, we really can turn this into something that our kids can, someone wrote on here that said, now we need to take Austin's thing for a fort/maze and use it for a Nerf war. It's a double win. I guarantee you, if you did that as a family, did a giant fort maze, then had a Nerf war, that would be one of the best memories your kids had of the entire year. And so I think we need to stop viewing this as just a trial and try to find in the trial the way of man, how can we make this something we look back as a family and say, COVID-19 sucked in a lot of ways, but in a lot of ways it was incredible. And how much closer is our family because of this crisis?
100%. Actually, this week, yesterday, we were supposed to be boarding a plane to Hawaii. All of my children for their first time, and it was kind of my 40th birthday thing, and that was something my kids are really having a hard time mourning and letting go of. I was like, okay, you know what? We'll move on. We'll do it another time. But they've been looking forward to this so much that they're really heartbroken. Yeah. So this week, not that it's it's a consolation. We're throwing a surprise luau for the kids on Wednesday. They don't know that. And something my girls always like to do during the summer, and we looked, the weather is good, is sleep out on the trampoline, put lights up. And so we're going to do that as a family, which I would much rather be sleeping in my bed. Don't get me wrong, all cozy. But we're going to do that, and that's something the kids are really going to cherish. Lay out on the trampoline, and everybody talk, and bring out blankets. And
camping's huge. We had Leanne just said it's been cold, but my crazy kids managed to camp in the backyard.
Yes, absolutely. One of my other friends is planning that for her kids too, is to camp, because that's something kids to us that's oh, that's a lot of work, and my back is really going to hurt. But for them, that is magical and so fun, and make it special. I like to say I like to cultivate moments, and it doesn't have to be this big, we're going to Disneyland, we're going to Hawaii, but it can be special, wonderful things like putting up Christmas lights, building a fort with your kid. I do Tuesdays, and I stole this actually from Jenny, my sister-in-law, a long time ago, but Piper loves it. We do Tea Party Tuesdays.
Oh,
and
fun.
It's just a little table. I bought our tea party set. It's really nothing big. I can put some cookies or crackers or whatever.
Yeah.
This week we got dressed up. David, my husband, came, and he was invited, which he usually isn't, and we had tea party and and sat down with her, and she just thinks it's the loveliest thing.
So
she's
cool.
not necessarily going to remember all the ins and outs of COVID-19 and how scared the country was, but she's going to remember those memories and those moments. So that's really important too.
So good.
I saw something, another mom put on her wedding dress and came to dinner. It's like, do ridiculous things with your kids. It's okay.
That's
it's
awesome.
fun. Have a crazy dance party,
Yes.
Do feats of strength.
Yes.
We're doing silly things. This is when your family is really going to come together in this time.
I love it. I think one of the things, I don't know if you shared it before, I don't think you did, you shared it with me, but you have those COVID-19 goals, but then you just also have the goals for your kids.
Yes.
These are the goals that you have just for them as human beings.
Yep.
And I think that's so good because those goals are still your goals in COVID-19. And actually your COVID-19 goals kind of got derived from those goals.
Yes.
But talk a bit about those because those are so good.
Yes. Well, my goal isn't to raise doctors and professional athletes, though that would be really nice.
Right.
But my goals are, one, in our family, we want to love Jesus, and I want to raise
good.
children that love Jesus and emulate that and teach them that. So what that looks like and having them follow that, my footsteps every day and showing them what that looks like. So love Jesus. I want them to be kind human beings with empathy.
That's good.
So showing kindness, and through this, that's what we've been like, hey, let's be kind to the people. Let's, give a granola bar to the man on the side of the road. Don't just turn your head and ignore him or whatever that looks like. Be employable. I would like my kids to be able to be employable. Read, move out of the house and not live in the basement. So it doesn't mean, like I said, they have to get into medical school and be the top of this. Find something that they love. And my dad really instilled this in us growing up, and I loved it, and it's in my head all the time. Find something that you love to do and find a way to make money doing it, and that I want my kids to find their passions, and I want them to grow and go. So it being employable, and then last but certainly not least, being marriable.
Yes.
I want them to be marriable. I want my son, he's going to get a little home ec. He's going to learn to do his own laundry and operate that dryer, because that's certainly going to make him more marriable.
My son just got body odor, and we're trying to enforce with him the importance of wearing deodorant all the time. And I think that would go to the be marriable.
100% being marriable and being just kind and lovely.
Yes.
So those are really it's pretty simple, but those are my goals with raising my children. I try to keep those in mind.
So good.
And so, the COVID goals kind of definitely in COVID schooling, because we're not calling it homeschooling, comes from that.
I love it. Well, I'm excited to get more into all of those in the coming weeks. I think it's going to be so fun to really dig into those and figure out how we do that. Because, again, there's so much with home church right now to love Jesus, and not just on Sundays but throughout the week, and there's such great plans that you can take your kids through, even through the Bible. There's so many great things that, again, I know you're going to be talking about this idea of be employable and be kind. There's so many things in this crisis that we can do to reinforce every one of those things, and so I'm pumped to dig into it.
Absolutely.
And hear more about it. But we're just about out of time. Is there anything else you want to say?
No, I've had a great time. This is fun. That actually
Becca?
went by really fast. Gosh.
Hi, Elbow. COVID-19 Elbow. Hey, we love you guys.
Thanks for joining.
We will see you. Well, I won't see you. Becca will see you next
back.
week for Family Talk on Monday. Tomorrow, we've got Table Talk with Skip and Lenya. Same time on Wednesday. Matt Perolo and I are doing a segment called Just Talk. And there's no agenda for that. We're just going to talk about anything that you guys want to talk about. Maybe take some biblical questions. Thursday, Table Talk again. Then Friday, Book Talk. That's exciting for everyone watching, Book Talk. So we're starting a new thing through SoPo called Book and Brew. Ooh. Because nothing goes better together when you're home by yourself than a good cup of coffee and a good book. That just goes so well together. So what we're doing at SoPo and Parchments, we're teaming up, and once a week we're going to hand select a book, and we're going to either deliver to your house a book and a pound of coffee, or we'll have it available for curbside delivery. You can drive up, pick up a brand new book and a cup of coffee, and then on Fridays, Brian Nixon and Tiffany Rockhold are going to talk about the book. It's going to be a book club, a digital book club.
I love it.
So talk about the book, talk about what you're learning. So make sure to tune in for Book Talk on Friday. But we love you guys, and we will see you next time.
Absolutely. Bye.